When it comes to running cold email to generate sales for your company, it's crucial that the list you're reaching out to is properly built. The reason being, this will result in higher reply rates, less people marking you as spam, which means the emails that you do send land in the inbox. That means more replies, more book meetings, and more sales for your company. This video, I'll be covering the A to Z process of list building, starting from you building your ICP, which is your ideal customer profile, all the way to having a finished list ready for you to send out to. If you stick to the end, there's also going to be a bonus in this where I show you how to use AI and the specific tools on how to make this list even more targeted so that when the prospect receives your email, they think this is so relevant, I have no choice but to reply. Now let's jump into the screens. So the number one thing you do before you begin anything with cold email or building your lists is you want to define your ICP. And your ICP is your ideal customer profile or your ideal client profile. And the best way to choose your ICP, if you're already an established B2B business, is just to look at who you've worked with in the past and who have you been able to get good results for. And also maybe if you want to pair it with who have you worked with and actually enjoyed it with. So you can find industries that you enjoy working with and you get results for. So let's just say you're a content creation agency and you make short form content for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube for these companies, and you've worked with FMCG companies in the past and it's done really well. So the first thing to identify your ICP with is going to ask yourself, what is the company size? So how many employees do they have? What industry are they in? So this one is going to be FMCG. This is how I'm going to build the list to show you on Apollo. Let's say their location. Their location could be in America, it could be in the UK, it could be anywhere. It could, let's say you only work with South American companies, or let's say you only work with companies in Singapore. It just depends on how you're able to deliver your service. If you can do it online or you have to be in that physical location to actually deliver the service for them. And you might have a particular thing like size of department. So let's say I want to only work with people who have size of marketing departments not larger than 20 people. So if it's an FMCG company that is between 50 people and 500 people, if there's more than 10 people in the size of the department of marketing, I'm thinking they're already going to have their own in-house team to make their content. But let's say if they only have 9 people or 5 to 10 people, there's not enough people to do the Facebook ads, the email marketing, the graphic design, and the content. So let's just say we want to have size of department under 10. That could be an example. You don't have to put this. This is just an example. And then maybe it's about the technologies that they use. If it's an e-commerce company, then obviously you're going to be looking for things like Shopify. If it's a a really successful e-commerce company, maybe they use things like Triple Whale or Hyros to track their ad spend, and that you know that if they're spending $3,000 to $20,000 a month on this software, then they're definitely spending a lot of ads, money on ads, and that would mean that they have to have really high sales to justify that. Or maybe you want to work with companies that have a funding stage. Maybe they've just raised Series A or Series B, and you want to be able to help implement their services. So let's say companies that just raised Series B, we can come in and do your financial modeling for you to ensure that you are on track to deliver to your promises to your investors for Series B and go and raise on successful Series C. So it really depends on what your service you're selling, but you just want to ask yourself, who is it exactly that I'm selling to? So that when it comes to building your list, now that we're going to build the list, we're going to be looking at finding company data, and company data is going to be what is matching your ICP. Next, we're going to be looking for contact data, and this will also include the personas within the company. So it could be, let's say, CEOs, COOs, CMOs, anyone within that. And you can also say years of experience, and maybe even their previous job if you want. Next, we are going to validate our data. So once you have all the companies and the contacts of the specific people who work in the company and their email addresses, you want to make sure that the email addresses that you're sending to actually exist. Because if you're sending to 100 emails that you haven't verified that exist and 20 of them bounce, the email service providers, other known as the like ESPs, are going to know that this person is probably spamming because why would someone send an email to 100 people and 20 of them not exist? So we have to make sure that our data is validated. We can use two tools for this. One is Million Verifier, and Million Verifier will return essentially a list of emails saying, yes, you can email these. And they'll also give you ones which are called risky or catch all, which essentially mean we're not really sure. And then ones that are completely invalid that you don't email at all. You take this risky slash catch all list into something like Enrichly or Scrubby, and that will validate your catch all list and give you out of those which ones you can send to. The fourth step, you're going to clean your data. So as you'll see later in this video, after you actually pull all the data from Apollo, you're going to maybe have messy data. The company name is going to be all caps lock and it's going to have some weird apostrophes in it that if you use that exact variable to send in your email, because essentially you're just going to have a large Google sheet with company name 12345, and it's going to pull that exact company name into your email copy. And if it's all caps lock or spelt weirdly, the person who receives this is going to be like, this is obviously automated. I'm not going to reply. So we need to make sure that our data is clean. And then, as I said in the beginning, there's going to be a bonus. If you stay to the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to use AI to laser focus your lists. Right. So to jump into Apollo, I said we wanted to pull some people who worked in FMCG companies. So first thing, we are going to come to industry and keywords. And in this area here, I'm going to begin with FMCG, consumer goods. Let's say consumer packaged goods, CPG. And in industries, I can also say consumer goods. I'm just going to give you the frameworks of how to best search for these lists. In the advanced settings, you can also exclude certain things. So if you want, let's say, consumer goods, but they're not in retail, you can also come in here and exclude retail. And let's say I also want to include food and beverage because that's part of MCG. I want to make sure that I'm not reaching out to any other marketing or advertising companies because I'm going to be reaching out on behalf of a content marketing agency. And I want to make sure that I'm only reaching out to actual brands that my client can work with. In terms of types of keywords, we want to tick SEO description just to make sure that we're pulling more companies that may match this keyword. And we can also exclude keywords. So if I want to reach out to FMCG companies, but I don't want to reach out to anyone which is running a winery, because they might come in under food and beverage, or maybe I don't want any alcohol companies at all. And maybe I want sweet companies, sweet and candy. So over here, you can really see how you can start to build your list and you can start to see how this list will change in terms of the size. Then you will come to, let's say, employees. As I believe I said, 50 to 500. You can tick it here, 51 to 500, or you can also come down to custom range to type in exactly what you want. So let's say if I wanted 49 people, all the way up to 500. And my service can be sold in America. It can be sold in the UK. I don't need to be in a physical location and I can deliver it online. But let's just say I just want to sell to America for now. I can tick United States. I can even put in certain states. And in terms of technologies. If you wanted to pick, let's say, e-commerce companies, this is not going to be e-commerce, but you can put in Shopify. Pick that. Pick Hyros if they have it, or Triple Whale, which is going to be your data tracking. And in here, so now that we've got essentially our company data defined, which is the location that the companies are in, it's going to be how many employees there are and the types of companies, so FMCG companies, is going to basically define types of companies that we want to speak to. I'm not including technologies in this, or revenue or funding. And with revenue here, I'd be careful in terms of adding revenue to your Apollo search, purely because there's no way of truly knowing how much a company is making unless they're actually a public company and they, make transparent their accounts every single year. You could put in funding. So here would be Series A, B, C, D. But if you really do want to find specific funding data, I would recommend you go to crunchbase.com. And here you'll be able to search very similarly, like in Apollo, with this type of search style, companies who have raised funding. And you can pull that list with something like Instant Data Scraper and bring it back into Apollo, where you can actually put in the company. Here we go, company and lookalikes. And you can actually type in all of the companies here. So let's just say you said it was facebook.com, shopify.com, amazon.com, whatever that may be. You can actually come in here and click that save search. But obviously it's not going to come up because I have the FMCG industry keywords in there. But you'd be able to pull a list from elsewhere. So you could pull your company data, this section elsewhere on somewhere like clutch.co if you wanted to search for marketing agencies, or crunchbase.com for funding, or storeleads.com for e-commerce data on Wix, Shopify, Magento stores, and just paste all the company websites directly in here. And you'll be able to also use Apollo just for the contact data, which is this section. Right now, we're using Apollo for company data and contact data. I'm going to click X out of this one. And now that we've compiled our company data, next we want to look at job titles, which is going to be defining our personas, so who we actually want to reach out to. So here you can use a simple job search, type in a project manager, CEO, director, or you can also use an advanced search. I prefer to use an advanced search, which is the Boolean search. And the way you do that is first you open brackets and you have to use the quotation marks. So CEO, or let's say COO, or CMO are the people that I want to reach out to, and not anyone who is in HR, or let's say finance. I go click apply. I'm going to go from unclosed quotation mark. Went from 325K to 1.6K. And I can also come in here and look at the management level, and just to make sure that I'm only ticking C-suite, founder, and people and owners. I could even click department and job function. I could do C-suite, and I could also tick in the marketing. I'm going to leave that out for now. So now you can see there's 1,500 people who we could pull, and they would be CEOs, COOs, or CMO of companies in the US with employees of 49 to 500 people, with FMCG, CPG, consumer packaged goods, sweet and candy, consumer goods, not winery or alcohol companies, and the consumer goods of F&B industry. And I'm excluding any industry which is retail companies, or marketing and advertising firms. As mentioned, also you can add technologies. Revenue, I wouldn't really go with that. Or you could also use funding or take the funding data from Crunchbase. You could also do job postings. So let's say there's 1,500 people here, but I also want to enter job titles for anyone who is hiring a creative director. So that makes it go down massively um, for these specific companies. But if you know that these companies are about to hire a creative director, then trying to sell your services, which is content creation for these companies, would make a very relevant email. But when you only send it to 4 people, it's probably not going to be worth your time. But you can also use this section here for job postings. And a lot of people will miss out on this section here, which is more filters. You can actually look for more filters within Follow. So if you wanted to look at job change, so what was their previous job? They haven't changed jobs, but they've recently changed jobs. So you might email and say, "Hey John, just seen you moved jobs and you're now the new CEO of X and Y company. Given you're the new CEO, you're probably wanting to shake up things a little bit. Have you considered X and Y content creation for your company? We can bring you 1 million views a month, and that would translate into more sales." Something along those lines. You can also look at total years of experience. How long have they been in that role or in that industry? Time in current role, and also let's say employees by department. We looked at recently. We said, okay, if there's a marketing company with less than 10 people in marketing. So if I come here and I just type in, I'm going to say the maximum people. Okay, save that, apply those filters. And it went from 1,500 people to 1,400. So out of these companies, a lot of them would be relevant for my client to reach out to, because if they have less than 10 people, then it's likely that they don't have all the in-house resources to run the content creation for themselves. If you want to see the growth of a company, you might also say, if there is a headcount growing, let's say in the logistics team, or headcount growth in the paid advertising team. So if logistics is growing, it means they're making more sales, the company's growing, they're building more warehouses, and that probably means that they need more creatives, they need more videos to test ads, to constantly post, to make sure to fuel that sales and keep those sales going high. So you can also type in headcount growth. You might search for department again, and let's just say supply chain, logistics, not going to be here. Operations. And let's just say in the past 12 months, I wanted to see it grow by at least 20%, so that there is growth in large companies. And again, now there's 136 companies left. So some of this data is not going to be available for everything. You just also have to make sure that your list is actually large enough out to. So I'm going to take that one out. Apply filters. 1,400 people. You can go to Apollo pricing. You could sign up, let's say on monthly billing, for 59 or 99 a month. And what you'll get is about 250, 270 exports, I believe, on this here, which means that out of these 1,400 people, all you can get is actually 270 emails to send to. And this is against Apollo's terms of service. So I'm not saying you should go and do this or not, but you can go to appify.com and type in Apollo Scraper. Come in here, and you'll see that this at the top of your URL, you copy the URL. I'm not sure if you can see it in my, but every time you make a search in here, it will edit the URL of your page, and you can just come in here, click try for free. And all you need to do is feed in your URL over here. And every time you use this URL in a new page, it will come up with the exact search that you created. So you can use Apify to help scrape all of your leads, and the amount that you're paying for it is $1.20 for 1,000 leads. If you scrape 10,000 leads, you would literally pay $10, $12 for it, which is extremely cheap. So I'm going to just do a test scrape. I'm not going to scrape all of these people because I don't actually need all of these emails. And just one last thing as well, what you want to do is make sure to just tick verified and unverified here. Because if you're going to get the do not send, update required, or unavailable, you're going to need to waterfall these leads. Very briefly, waterfalling just means that you are taking the leads that were unavailable from one platform and going to look for another platform to see if they have those emails. I'll make another video another time showing you how to do this. But just for now, I want you just to tick verified and unverified so that the data that you're actually pulling from Apollo is the ones that you can right away. So once you have pulled this, I'm just going to pause the video and come back with another pulled video. Okay, now that we've done the first two steps, which is figuring out our ICP, getting our company data, getting our contact data, this is the data that I've just pulled from Apollo. And I'm just going to quickly clean it up before we give it to our data validation tools. I'm going to click data here, text the columns, use a space just to split the first name and last name. Then here we're going to have our title, our company name, company LinkedIn, email, our LinkedIn. This is the location, employee size, keyword 1, 2, 3. This is just the extra keywords that weren't pulled. And then the rest, delete. So now that we have this file here that has our first name, last name, our titles, and most importantly, our emails, this is now where we want to validate our emails to make sure that the emails we're sending to actually exist and they are not going to bounce, because if they're going to bounce, then the email service providers will know these guys are emailing en masse and you're going to be landing in spam and all of your efforts are going to be vain. So what do? You go to a tool, Million Verifier. There's lots of tools in here. You can use Million Verifier. You can never bounce, debounce. And this tool is going to give you back your emails. So they're going to give you, like I said, a set of green ones ready to go, yellow or risky, catch all, and then red and valid, do not send. You're going to take your list from Million Verifier, the green ones ready to go, and the catch all, you're going to use it to tool like Enrichly or Scrubby.io. And these are the tools that you can use to validate your catch-all emails. So as you can see here, an example here of Scrubby. Let's say in 100% of your list, 40% was valid in Million Verifier. Usually you'd have to throw away your other 50% risky to not send to because you might land in spam. But with the validation, you go and validate this 50% and 40% of that is valid. So you're adding 40% here to that other 40%. You've just double the size of your list. And you're also emailing people who other people usually aren't emailing because they're worried about it not being a valid list. So you're also emailing people who are not getting cold emails as often as the normal valid list are, which can mean more reply rates, more meetings, and more sales. So once you actually have that list cleaned and come back, The example here is going to show you from Million Verifier, it's going to be quality, good, 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 good. And if there's a risky one, it's going to say risky and something like catch all. And if you put into your tool, enrichly, never bounce, you're going to make sure that they also return the ones that are good to go. So let's just say this risky one and catch all one was ready to send. Now that we've got our list, we've got our first name, last names, titles, company names, emails that are ready to be sent to. What we also now want to do is clean our data to make sure that when we are using certain variables in the data, it is actually correct. So with title, if I was going to reach out to someone and say, hey, Diana, see that you're the vice president of sales, Club in West, that's just not going to hit. It's going to be marked spam, it's going to be deleted, completely ignored. But if it's, hey, Diana, see the new vice president of Catalina Crunch, okay, it makes more sense. So how do we do this? We don't want to go in and just try to edit them manually all by ourselves. So this section, there are some specific tools that you can use. So I've got here a tool called Lead Formatter. You can use this tool. I'll leave the link of it in the description below. Or you can also just use something like ChatGPT and prompt it. In this example, I'm just going to show you how to use Lead Formatter. Launch sidebar. And what's really interesting is you can first just say remove all the blanks and duplicates. I'm just going to say, okay, row first names A, emails is H, names E. Let's just remove all the blanks and duplicates just in case there are any. Cool, there aren't any. Format company names. So when you first pull them from Excel, pull them from Apollo, I'll just show you the list now. As you can see earlier, there were certain company names. If I can find any for you, I'll just copy this whole list here. I'll show you what I mean. So previously, you don't want to send to company name. Let's say they got Co. Inc., LLC, LLP, all these sort of things. Because if you're going to email them and say, hey, Jane, saw you're the CEO at Java Beverage, an FFP company, also not going to hit. So what this tool does is I can do format company names, and it's going to ask where are your company names. I'm going to click E. And you're going to see a lot of these ones that had LLC in them are now all gone. The ones that had Inc. in them. And it's just going to highlight in red which ones were, let's say, have more than 25 words for me to go and double check. So instead of filter environmental kitchen solutions FO8, I will just have to go look at the ones in red. And I just say filter Wheel Brothers Grain Co. So I can get Wheel Brothers, Java Beverage. I can get rid of that. So essentially, just going to be give me a list of company names ready to send to. Also with the title here, I'm going to do the ChatGPT tasks. So here you need to connect your API key for ChatGPT, and you're going to format job titles. And it's going to ask where the job titles are, C, where to put the column outputs to, D. And as you can see here, I'm going to just pair them side by side. Vice President of Sales, got rid of Club and West, Founder, CEO, Founder, Senior Vice President, Vice President, Co-founder, Franchise Owner, Founder, Vice President. So now that you reach out to these leads, it's much more simple for you to do. Complete now. And now you have a list of first names, last names, job titles that you can actually use that sound human when they're typed, a list of companies that you can reach out to that also sound human. You've got their email that you know you can reach out to because these emails actually exist. And you also know what company country they're in. So you know that, okay, these are in America, I can send them on the US time zone. You also know that they're in FMCG in terms of the industry segment, and they have the amount of people in their company that you want to work with. And another thing that you can do with lead formatter is going to be pulling the company LinkedIn description, which I've already done here. And essentially, I just clicked pull company LinkedIn descriptions, and it will take the company LinkedIn URLs here. I already did it earlier just to not waste time. But what you can do with that is the next one, you can, let's say, company description. I'm just going to show you as well. And it's going to click generate company service descriptions. And it's going to ask you where the keywords are. So the keywords are in column U, SEO. I'm just going to put in industry because I don't have the SEO description. If you do, some data sources will show it. That's also called metadata, but I don't have it. So I'm just going to use the industry. And then company LinkedIn descriptions is going to be, so this is just going to wait and load. And I'll just resume once it's finished. Okay, so now that it's done, what it returned to me here is essentially a word that describes the company description or a few words. So when I use it in an email, it might say, "Hi, Diana. See that you are the CEO of a food innovation company," rather than just trying to say FMCG. FMCG is very broad, fast moving consumer goods. So if I can get a very direct description of their company, it's going to make it seem much more relevant because it's like I'm reaching out to you because you're a frozen custard company, or we've helped 5 other superfood cafe brands also increase their sales by 32% in the past 60 days. So that just makes the message even more relevant. And that's a great thing to do with this tool lead formatter. It can also generate first lines, check if the company has a case study. So if you're reaching out to another B2B company, so if you're a B2B company who sells to B2B companies, you can also check their website or their company LinkedIn for case studies and pull that case study name to use in the, let's say in the PS line in your email. Now, now that we've done our validation in Million Verifier or in Richly and Scrubby, and we've cleaned our data. So we've cleaned our company name, we've cleaned our title, and we've also added a detailed company description. The last step that I want to teach you to laser focus your lists is going to be in automation in N8N. And N8N, if you guys aren't sure, something like make.com. There's also tools like Clay, which are very popular in the email space right now. Clay, this is essentially what's happening behind the hood in Clay. Clay just makes it very friendly in terms of the user interface. And what I've done is I've created this section here, whether is this a good fit, and then the summary. So if you're reaching out to thousands of companies at a time, you want to make sure that everyone you're reaching out to is actually a FMCG company. And let's say my client is their marketing agencies selling content creation. They want to make sure that these companies are B2C companies and not B2B companies. The B2B companies don't need short form content the same way that these B2C companies do. So running this automation here, which I'm going to explain in a bit, is going to ensure that when you have lists of 1,000s, 2,000s, 3,000, 4,000, that all the people that you're actually reaching out to are the company type that you want. Because let's just say you have people in there who aren't your actual ICP. Those people are going to receive an email. It's not going to be relevant to them, and they might mark you as spam, which means you have a lower chance of landing in the inbox of the people you actually want to speak to. So this just means that your list is curated and not only filtered once in Apollo or Store Leads or Crunchbase, because these databases aren't 100% accurate. If you just take everything as they say, as it's completely true, you're going to land in the spam. They even say that the most of their emails are ready to be sent to right away. That's not true. Always clean your data and validate your data from Apollo. And we're just adding another layer of filtration, but this time we're using ChatGPT to go and actually look at the company's website and company's LinkedIn. And just going to quickly show you. So here I have a trigger, and this trigger is going to create a get rows operation from my lists, and it's going to be the FMCG tests file and sheet one. And what it's going to do is it's going to speak to OpenAI. So what you need to do here is connect your API key, and all you need to do is just go platform.openai API keys, and you will be able to see here your API keys. You can create one, and it's the same thing as ChatGPT, except you're just using it as the backend, and it allows you to do really cool things with it, like this. Do things on mass at a much larger scale. So you just create a API key here, take that API key, add it here. This is my one, and you're going to click message a model, and you're going to pick GPT 4.0. And system prompt, what you're going to put in here is essentially just a very clear definition of what the AI's job is. And here, what I'm saying is you're a specialist at identifying company types and if they're a good fit for working with my client's company. My client is a B2B company that only works with B2C FMCG companies. And then the next one, the user prompt, it's going to be a bit more detailed. And what I've put in here is your job is to determine if a company is a good fit with a yes or no answer to work with my client and give a one sentence summary on your decision. You'll scrape the company website, so JSON website, which was what was fed from this information. So if I click test step, so this JSON data, don't get too committed by it. You're just essentially saying to scrape this data, website and company LinkedIn, to find out if they are an FMCG company. We'll output the following. You will output either a yes or no, depending on whether the company is an FMCG brand. You will also write a one sentence summary on why this company is a good fit or not. Just so if I go and filter it later on to see why they're not a good fit, I can still say, okay, these leads can actually be in another list, right? Or I can even get it to return also another sentence of what industry they think it should be in. So if I don't even want to read it, I can just go say to return me the industry. So I can just go and use that email in the next industry that I reach out to. And I want to respond in JSON in this format, good fit. And that's where the answer is. And then summary, that's where the answer is. And then after that, it's going to go to the next step, which is going to be update row from the same list, sheet one. And I'm just using it to match, just to make sure that it's matching the same rows. I'm just mail. That's in the sheet here, which is this data. And I'm just using it to update the row of the good fit or summary. So if I just go and click test this workflow, it's going to run through the entire workflow. So you can see it first got the data, plug it in to OpenAI, and then it's going to update the sheets there. So it's now executed the workflow successfully. And we're just going to open the sheet now. And as you can see here, it's all been updated. So good fit, yes, 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 no, yes, no, no, no. And it's also given us a summary of why that is. So Catalina Crunch is a B2C FMCG company that specializes in selling consumer packaged goods like snack items, making it a suitable partner for your client. No First Choice Services is a B2B company that provides office, coffee, and water refreshment services, which does not class them as a FMCG company. Hail Me Crazy is a health food cafe chain which operates in the food service industry rather than as an FMCG. So as you can see already here from this list from Apollo, only 10 people, and there's 3 no's and 7 yeses. So even 30%, even just out of 10, I'm sure the numbers might be different on a larger list, but 30% of people receiving a message that is entirely irrelevant to them is going to mean them potentially marking the email as spam. And that's going to hurt my email deliverability for my clients, or if you're going to run them for yourself, which means that the other 7 emails that I actually want to reach, the likelihood of it landing in the inbox is much lower. And if you land in spam, like you never did any of the work anyways, because no one ever saw it. And that's going to result in lower reply rates, lower booked meetings, and less sales for your company. So this is a very important step to do. Make sure that your list is hyper targeted. But now that you've done this, just come create a filter, and you can just do good fit, Z like this. And these 3, you can just either delete them, add them to new list, or I can just add them to another list and say no, E, leave them in here for now and deal with them later. But now I've got a list ready to upload into my email sequencer, whether you use Instantly, Smart Lead, whatever you use. And you have a list ready to send out to. So this was just a list of 10 people. When you're going to run this using Apollo or any other database, you're obviously going to run them based on how large your list size was. We saw that this particular industry segment was about 1,500 people. So after you clean them, clean the data, after you've run this good fit scenario, usually what we see is you're left about with like 65 to 70% of that size. If you begin with 1,000, you're probably left about 600 to 700 ready to actually send at the end. So this is just a quick rundown. We've covered getting company data, contact data, validating your data, clean your data, and using AI to laser focus your lists. And this is just one section within running cold email to generate sales for your B2B company. If you like this type of video, definitely leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you'd like me to do this for you, you can also reach out. I'll put a link to my calendar below and you can book a call and we can speak. Thanks.